story for all.
Okay, so we give that.
Good morning, my beloved. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. It's Sunday, September 21st of 2025, and I am delighted to see you all here this morning in person and out there in YouTube land. I am Reverend Dr. Kate R. Walker. I use the she, her pronouns, and I am absolutely honored and delighted to serve as the minister of this beloved community. For those with visual disability, I'm a middle-aged, light-skinned female. Hair is mid-length, light brown, curly. I wear glasses, and today I have on a mixed fabric dress with a stole and shades of light peach and cream. Beloved, you are all welcome, welcome here. I am so glad that you chose to be with us, got out of bed, and maybe you only made it to your computer, but those who actually got into their shoes and prompted their way down here, I'm delighted that you've chosen to be here. You are all welcome. Whomever you love, however you arrived, whatever you are seeking in this religious journey. We are Unitarian Universalists, people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders, and we celebrate all of this. We're a multi-faith community where all are welcome in their questions. Diversity is constantly celebrated and elevated, and the beloved community is the quest. If this is your very first time here with us, absolutely delighted to have you. And if you're online, please check out our website. And then down at the bottom, you can sign up on MailChimp for our newsletter, but send us an email. Let us know what you're seeking. Introduce yourself. And if you're here in person, we have a welcome desk out in the garden lobby. And again, introduce yourself. We'd love to find out who you are and start that communication. We're a pretty active and engaged community, and I would just today want to just celebrate that we, thanks to your generosity and our continuing capital campaign, I can see you. The lights in here, isn't it magnificent? Isn't it wonderful, the lights? And for those who are wondering, okay, yeah, there are lights. They're all been replaced with LED lights, which means previously when we turned on the old lights, it was like heating 3 households. So we are living our values and care for our planet. And also the video screens, and you'll be very grateful to know I am not advancing them this morning. The tech wizards are. And if you want to be a tech wizard too, please just ramble your way back to that back desk after service and say, gosh, I love tech. And they will just swoop you up. Be delighted to have you. And we do have a lot of needs, even if you just want to advance the slides or help create the slides. Right now I'm doing it, and I would love to pass that on to somebody else. And if you are here with bounteous and beautiful babies, and they get fussy, they're welcome to stay, but we do have a nursery in the back which is staffed. It's just in that door in my back right, your back left, and welcome to listen to the service from that spot if you would like. Take a deep breath, my beloved, and arrive in body and spirit. Wherever you are watching now or in the future, be here, be there, be in your body. Picture yourself connected to everybody within this space, to Unitarian Universalists throughout the city of Pittsburgh and our county and our Commonwealth, to Unitarian Universalists in our country and around the world, to all people of faith seeking to deepen our community with one another. We turn to our chalice lighting. The symbol of our faith as Unitarian Universalists. We are people who are always in negotiation, you might say, in relationship of our beloved community. Today we begin to explore what it is to be a part of this interconnected web of existence as we find out who we are and what our needs are and the needs of others. This flame is a guiding point of light in our journey with one another. I invite you to rise as you're able for our 2 opening hymns, 124, Be That Guide, and 73, Chant for the Seasons as we welcome autumn.
So Please join me in the collective grounding, which is in your order of service. We name our collective recommitment to care for the earth, knowing the ground we live upon is sacred. We pledge to bring new life to the earth, new life to the air, new life to the waters, new life to each other, for all life is sacred.
Autumn, everyone. Yay! It's the spring equinox, autumn equinox. I always mix them up. Yay! For those of you who don't know, a lot of our families know this because they get an email list from me, but for those of you who don't know, we're celebrating autumn outside with some outdoor activities that are intergenerational. I think there's a potato sack race involved and donuts hanging from trees. So if you like multi-age fun, go and check it out after the coffee hour, or during the coffee hour. So my name is Erica Shadowsong, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the Lifespan Religious Education Director, and I would like to invite the young and young at heart for a conversation. Do you guys want to come up here and sit with me and chat? We're going to talk about something interesting. So I'm going to come and sit here, and any kids or young at heart, please join me. Yay! We're going to talk about something really important. Hi, guys. Hey! There's a bunch of us over here. Welcome, everyone. So I got some interesting news. You see all these grown-ups out here, this huge swath of grown-ups? Did you know that sometimes grown-ups need help learning how to behave? I bet you guys have parents telling you how to behave all the time, right? Well, even as adults, we have to learn how to behave with each other because we're all so different, right? So we are coming up in this church with something called a behavioral covenant. And it's like have any of you guys done a covenant in class before? I think some of you have. Maybe anybody remember doing that? So I'll jog your memory. It's when you decide like what you need in the class to feel safe. How you guys are going to act with each other for everybody to feel safe. And we usually have rules, but we also ask you, what do you want on the covenant? So if we're looking at this church full of grown-ups, as well as us, what do you think might be something that could be useful to put on our behavioral covenant? This is your chance to tell them how to behave. Ha ha. What? Nothing. Don't gamble? We'll leave that open to interpretation. Don't gamble. Right. That's right, guys, you're a gamble. But what are some things that we need, like when we're all together in a group, like what are some things that help us get along? What if everybody's all talking at once? What do we need? We need maybe to take turns, right? Find a way to take turns? Huh? Nobody will hear anything. That's right. So sometimes what I see on a covenant is a step up, step back. And what that means is if you're somebody who talks a lot, maybe restrain yourself a little bit and give space. And if you're somebody who doesn't talk a lot, be brave and give your opinion. What if we do something that accidentally hurts each other? Like what if one of us does something that hurts someone else's feelings? What do you think we should have in a covenant in that situation?
Apologize.
Yeah, I think that's good too. And apologize, find a way to make it right. Yeah? So that's something that we're all going to do. I want you to be thinking about that. And when you have ideas, you can go up to the nearest grown up in this church and tell them, I think you should put this on the covenant, okay? Because I heard some of the suggestions you guys had, even though they didn't. All right, guys, thank you so much. Go ahead and have a seat. I have a couple of messages, a couple of things I want to say before we start singing. So, if you are in 3rd grade or older, you may go to your classroom by yourself. If not, parents, please go with your children. If we have any 2-year-olds or younger, we want to put them in the nursery. Ask them not to go with their older siblings because they'll have a chance to be there later. But for right now, we're going to ask you to take them to the nursery. We have people in the nursery now that's staffing it. And the last thing I would like to remind parents is to please make sure you register if you have not registered. There are registration forms at the front desk. You can see me and any of the teachers. And with that, let's sing 10:10. We give thanks as we go to our classes. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Leanne Hayworth. I'm with the Kazi Hills Partnership Team, and I was asked to give this offering in recognition of their annual founding of the Kazi Hills Unitarians. And I do have to give credit to another team member, David Usher, who wrote these beautiful words. So next slide, please. So as many of you know, since 2003, this congregation has had a meaningful partnership relationship with the Unitarians in the villages and towns of Kazi Hills, which is located in the most northeastern part of India. Some of us have visited there, and we've welcomed some of them here, either in person or through the miracles of modern technology, thanks to Zoom. We've been glad to offer practical and financial assistance for the school that we sponsor, and we've taken delight at the academic successes of their students. Unitarianism was established in the Kazi Hills in 1887, when on the 18th of September, the first service was held in the town of Jowai, thanks to an inspired local leadership of Hajom Kishore Singh, who's pictured here. Next slide, please. And since then, this date has been the most important in their yearly calendar, honored as their anniversary, a celebration which we are pleased to observe in our own service this morning. But why should we, here in Pittsburgh, care about a date meaningful to people on the other side of the world? Why should we celebrate along with them each year? One reason, of course, is that it's heartening for them to know that as they celebrate, they are in our hearts today. But the benefit is not only theirs, it's also ours. It's tempting for us here in North America to think that Unitarian Universalism elsewhere is, or should be, cast in our own demographic and historical image, a predominantly educated, middle-class, privileged, and progressive religious phenomenon which has emerged primarily from liberal Christianity, but which now embraces truths from other traditions and sources. But to do so is really to deny the greater truth that people everywhere and anywhere, regardless of color, caste, or culture, can hunger for a faith based on the essential pillars of personal authenticity, a desire to be in community with others, and a commitment to make the world a better place for all. And that faith can take many forms, different theologies, different forms of worship, different customs and traditions, and yet those different forms are bound by a common, uniting sympathy of love and understanding. as we honor this most important date of our fellow Unitarians in that faraway part of India, very different from us in many ways. We're not only enlarging their sense of occasion, we're also enlarging our capacity of our own hearts to embrace others and to practice our faith, as all life is sacred. It's our prayer and our commitment today and all days, to side with generous, inclusive love with all those who seek their spiritual truths and freedom, and with a passion for justice. And in particular today, we rejoice with our fellow Unitarians in the Kazi Hills, to whom we say, with the fullness of our hearts, happy anniversary. Thank you.
Every month, we share our generosity with a designated organization. This month, it is Casa San Jose. All donations are shared 50-50 with this organization unless otherwise designated. Our religious community is made up of volunteers and staff creating and hosting a variety of programming. We rely on your financial support. In addition to the collection plate, you can donate by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the directions. Please check the end of the order of service for more directions. The offering will now be gratefully received to support the work, wonder, and witness of our religious community.
Beloved community, I know sometimes it is hard to get out of bed in that soft space of warmth. Maybe the light has yet to come in the window, and we feel safe for a few moments. Yet the day calls forth. Perhaps it's a child, a spouse, a job, a pet. Perhaps it's our own conscience pulling us forward. Each moment we enter into decisions. May our hearts be filled with the love of one another, so those decisions are easier as we choose to stay engaged in this world. Today, we hold in our hearts the loss of one of our community members, Pam Alexander Blackwood, who died last Sunday on the 14th at home she had chronic illnesses. Her covenant group is taking care of her celebration of life and working closely with her family. We also hold in our hearts Stephanie Pulowski, whose mother, Janet Rohr, has been diagnosed with blood cancer. They are seeking answers to the many questions, but are hopeful for treatment. And today we celebrate with Denise Galpern's mother, Dolores Casper DiBernardo Oskin, who will celebrate her 100th birthday next Sunday with 100 of her friends. So it's before the actual centennial, but I think she gets a year of celebrating. Such joy, such joy. May all of your joys and your sorrows rest in your hearts, and know that you are beloved and connected and supported with one another. I invite you to a few moments of personal prayer or meditation as we invite silence into this space. Spirit of life, of love, of the holy and all that cannot be named. Spirit of the earth and the skies and the wind and the water. Spirit of justice and peace. Spirit of relationship, of family and friends. Spirit of music. We call upon all to come into this space and into our bodies, into our minds and hearts and the very bones and veins holding us together. We breathe into all this, that sacredness of life. Some call God, some call beloved. Love and life intertwined. We offer our deep, deep sadness and prayers for 3 police officers killed in our Commonwealth and for all victims of gun violence. Each moment that guns are used to kill another human being, and so many that never make the headlines. So many lost. We continue to pray and work and speak out for peace in Ukraine and Gaza, Israel, that hearts will be turned finally, that there may be the end of the cruelty, May our hearts be filled with connection to one another, enriched, emboldened, empowered, guided. We are here together in beloved community. May this be with us throughout our weeks, our days, our moments, and each morning that we wake. Blessed be. Amen. I invite you to stay seated as we sing 10:11, Return Again, and we've decided to not do the repeats. Simply follow Al and Rob.
So on the left side of the congregation, follow me. On the right side of the congregation, follow Al. We will all sing through the whole thing once, and then we'll split up, and I'll be starting. So hopefully that's clarified. As a round, yes, as a round. So it'll become clear, hopefully.
Good morning. My name is Kirsty Atkins, and I'm the liturgist for today. And I'm an older, light-skinned woman with light hair, and my glasses frames are purple. And for anyone who's curious about this, I had shoulder surgery several weeks ago, and I get to take this off in a couple more days, and then I'll be really happy. Okay. The reading for today is In Praise of Limits, written by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. A river without banks isn't a river but a marsh, a swamp encroaching, rotting the roots of the trees where songbirds once welcomed the dawn. A pasture without end, missing fences, is not a space of safety from storms or predators or weather, too much for any dog or shepherd to guard. A person without skin may be a ghost or a pile of bones, unguarded from dirt and disease, unable to touch or be touched, to hold or be held without pain. Life without limit and unfettered festers into something that does more harm than good, takes more than can be given, becomes death's instrument. Freedom that cannot perceive that others must also be free. Freedom that cannot perceive that others must also be free is not freedom at all, but entitlement, greedy and overstuffed, the libertine impostor of liberty. To the people who have mistaken freedom for liberation, to be free You must embrace the breadth of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. You must know not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life. You must know instead that inside you are entire universes, milky blue, magenta and gold, expanding. But to actually be free, you must know that you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise. The author gives thanks to Reverend Leela Sinha for this reading.
Thank you. We all have those stories. Those stories of family blowouts, sibling tensions, parental buttons, coworkers getting on your nerves, friends pushing for more, friends pushing for less. Boss just doesn't get what you need or want. You and your spouse just can't get past that one issue. Neighbors, really? I didn't choose them. Almost certainly, those stories is the root cause of the problems of those relationships is poor boundaries. Therapists, clergy, psychologists are desperate for all of us to understand the importance of healthy boundaries. Yet they can be really hard to explain. They're complicated, truly. So I followed a complicated story that helped, well, let's see what you think. This was about Lee Steinberg. Lee Steinberg, well, he was a leading sports agent. I think is retired now, but still out there. He had tremendous power. And you may recognize him because he was the inspiration for the movie called Jerry Maguire. He's the real Jerry Maguire. Well, he tells the story one day, long time ago, sitting on the bed of his deceased father. His father had died, and he was sitting on his father's bed. He was 61 years old, and he was desperate for vodka. His apartment had been closed. His business had been closed. His wife had divorced him. He was barely speaking with his 3 kids. He felt powerless. He felt like Gulliver lying on a beach with tiny forks poking into his body, and there was nothing he could do. But if he escaped, he said, he would have found the first bottle of vodka he could find. But as he sat there, something was pulling on him. It was words that came from his deceased father, words that came from when he was a boy. His father had said in life, focus on your relationships, your family, your friends, and do good in this world. Those 2 messages from his dad shifted his perspective just enough when he began to realize, well, things may be bad, but he wasn't starving in Darfur. He was not living with his last name in Nazi Germany. He didn't have any chronic diseases or physical disabilities. He was just sitting there wallowing in his own self-destruction. Steinberg notes that even with his complication of addiction, he was not having a good day, but he had choices. There were certain decisions that he could make. to improve and to have a better, healthier life. And I add, he had discovered healthy boundaries. Steinberg's story is a step-by-step rebuilding of healthy boundaries through discernment, through reclaiming of what he needed and what he wanted, and then naming them out loud. It gives them more power. It makes it real when you say it out loud. Learning to listen deeply. Being held accountable for actions. Knowing that we have power and privilege and how it impacts us as well as others. Providing safe spaces and recognizing the need for equity in those safe spaces. I am speaking today on this issue of healthy boundaries as a professional boundaries trainer for religious professionals. I've been doing it for years. As religious educators, particularly clergy, come into ministry or they've been in ministry for a long time, I offer workshops about how to have healthy boundaries in professional ministry and in the church. But this past summer, I decided there's more to healthy boundaries than just in the church. So I expanded my education and my professional, and I found one of my co-facilitators recommended 2 books. And ever since I've been sharing about these books, many of you have come to me and said, what were those books again? Which tells me you guys, yeah, you need healthy boundaries too, don't you? Kristen Storm, Empowered Boundaries, Speaking Truth, Setting Boundaries, and Inspiring Social Change. Phenomenal book. You can see that it's now a resource. The second is Nedra Glover Tawin's book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself. Nedra Glover Twab. Both of these books I highly recommend. And let's just name right out. Even though I'm a trained facilitator for professional boundaries, I've experienced poor boundaries, having them and being impacted by them. All of us have. I've violated boundaries. All of us have. At times, we have our own poor boundaries, and we've hurt people. Signs that we need healthier boundaries. See if any of these tick for you. Feeling overwhelmed? Yeah, that's what I thought. Feeling resentment. Keep it up there. Avoiding phone calls. Particularly there's some folks way in the back, yes. Particularly interactions we think that somebody might ask you for something. I know some of you avoid my phone calls. Feeling burned out. Frequently daydream of dropping everything and disappearing. No time for yourself. Yeah. You're here today. That's for yourself. Today I want to focus on healthy boundaries and how to create healthy boundaries. And this is why it's so important in today's political, social polarization. Society is everywhere, constantly triggering in this important inflection point in U.S. history. So we need to be paying attention to this, but more importantly, we need to ground these healthy boundaries in our Unitarian, Universalist values. Then we can go forth with a deepened understanding of our shared identity, make better decisions, and really support one another. So what's a boundary? Strict definition, a line indicating a limit. But it's not just about saying no. It's also about saying yes, with awareness of the when and the where and the why. Psychologically, boundaries let me know where I begin versus where you are and how we keep together without merging into one another. Where I am, where you are, and how do we stay in relationship? We're always crossing boundaries. Let's just be clear about that. They're always being crossed because boundaries are on a spectrum. It's not either or, from very, very open to completely closed and somewhere in between. But it's crucial to know, again, when and why we're crossing them. Most of the time, we barely noticed. Here's some examples. We call someone. We've just crossed a boundary. We text someone. We reach to shake their hand. We step into somebody's home for dinner. We've been invited. We're still crossing a boundary. Put your arms around someone, with consent or not. You're asking about somebody's personal life. Well, who are they? Where are you? What's the context? You assume that you know something they don't know. Expect someone to know something without telling them. That's one of my favorites. Demand they know something. Damn it. Take something of importance. These are all forms of boundary violations, boundary crossings. There's some differences. We cross boundaries all the time. Violations are when, whoops, we need to back up. Their examples are boundless. For those of you who have been in therapy, this is going to sound really familiar. Good reminder to keep thinking about boundaries, but with the added layer of how are they grounded in our Unitarian Universalist values. Because when we're grounded in our own values, we're more open to change. For me, the reading I did this summer and the conversations I had, I got several key learnings. That fundamental shift, really, in understanding that when we have healthy boundaries, we create potential, so much potential for growth, for change on all levels, from personal to social. Steinberg understood this, maybe not right away, but he grew into it. When he began to rebuild his self-esteem and his self-identity, he reclaimed his power, and then he used his privilege, his social power, creating a sporting green alliance where you could create green technologies with arenas, recycling, new surfacing and runoff in those sports stadiums and arenas. He cared about the planet and knew that he was responsible in part for taking care of it. Steinberg rebuilt healthy boundaries through discernment, reclaiming his needs and wants. He named them out loud. He learned to listen. He held himself accountable. He owned his power and the privilege and how it impacted him and others. He created safe space, recognizing the need for equity for all. Those are basically the steps. Again and again. We don't do them just once. Boundaries, Steinberg also noted, are political. You can turn around with positive boundaries, saying yes, and lean into creating social, political change. That blew my mind when I started to really think about it. Because boundaries are not just about saying yes and keeping things out, protected and prevention. Boundaries are about saying acceptance, celebrating, empowerment for all. They're creating those healthy spaces, physical and emotional. Those spaces for equity, countering oppression, recognizing that not everyone holds the same power, the same authority, that all opinions do not carry equal weight. Some have more political and social power. Think about the reading that we heard with Sean Parker Dennison, that beautiful poem. Boundaries are constantly shifting. Firm boundaries exist. Totally open boundaries, well, frankly, it's kind of a myth. Long married couples still have healthy boundaries. Parents, healthy boundaries? I hope so. Most boundaries, they flex, they bend, they become permeable to the given situation of where you are. Politics and power impact that flexibility. Those shifting boundaries, constantly shifting, they create tensions, requiring discernment and constant communication of what we need and we want. And it may be overwhelming at times. What do I need? What do I want in this situation? Well, it may feel chaotic. So boundaries, I will tell you, the first thing to start with when you're trying in that discernment process, start with your body. That's where the boundaries exist, within this body, within our brain, within our heart. So start by asking, how do I feel? How do I feel? Answering gets easier and easier. But if we're disconnected from the body, we'll never know how we feel. So instead, we start communicating in really, not healthy ways. We get resentful. Instead, we engage by, avoidance. Anybody? Avoidance? Yeah, you guys are avoiding my answer, aren't you? You just don't want to even answer that. Avoidance. But when we engage in avoidance, it ultimately reinforces in a feedback loop. And then it becomes even more of a negative experience. We get angry at ourselves, at others. We get passive aggressive. Yeah. We start to look for mechanisms to control others so that we don't have to control ourselves. Kristen Storm, in her Empowered Boundaries, uses the metaphor of the undertow, of that undertow when we're overwhelmed and we can't fight it. And the more we fight it, in fact, the more we're pulled out to sea and we could drown. She says the only way to deal with an undertow is to give into it, to relax, keep your head above water, but learn to swim with it. And then you start to ease out of it. And we find we have the power to free ourselves. So when we have healthy boundaries, instead of destroying, we're strengthening those walls, not pulling up a drawbridge. We can use boundaries as create the kind of lives we really want and have always dreamed of. Imagine of who we want free of guilt. Free of guilt. That's one of the first barriers to healthy boundaries and naming what we want. Or we don't feel like we're worth our healthy boundaries. We're worth saying what we want. We minimize what we want. Oh, that's all right. It doesn't really matter what I want. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So I'm going to give you a couple really important tools as we discern what we want. One's a hammer, one's a measuring tape, all right? The hammer is what I call react. Lots of buttons and buzzers going on these days. We react. That's the hammer. Whack. We want to react to something. It's a heightened emotional response to something. And we just take that hammer and whack, we react. Response, we breathe. We don't touch the hammer. Instead, we pick up a measuring tape. We breathe and we measure in time and space how we want to respond to something. Instead of the lizard brain or the amygdala, we kind of go, oh, what's going on here? How am I feeling? If you can figure out your hammer and your measuring tape, you're a long way toward figuring out what we feel. And then we build a foundation of empathy, compassion for oneself and for others, and expanding our heart while still holding clear what our boundaries and what our needs and wants are. So as you put down the hammer and picking up that measuring tape, here's some questions. Do you have respect for yourself? Do you really respect? Do I respect myself? Hold yourself accountable. How many times have you apologized for holding personal boundaries? Oh, I'm sorry. This is what I need. You don't have to apologize. Affirm flexibility, though, without losing that sense of want and needs. Be clear about what those wants and needs. Avoid certain modifiers by, well, maybe, it could be. Have you verbalized your wants and needs and actually said them out loud to the people who need to hear it more than once? Don't assume others can figure it out and read your mind. Again, that's my personal favorite. Creating healthy boundaries is not always comfortable. There are going to be times when we're deeply uncomfortable, when we wiggle and squiggle in our place. There may be times when our wants and needs are in conflict with others and we need to negotiate. Do so with love and empathy. Learn to be comfortable with the discomfort. Learn and grow into it. Deepen the relationship of mutual trust. Clear boundaries create spaciousness. Problem solving, less polarizing, and in fact, compassion interrupts polarizing. That's a powerful tool. But it's not just what I want, is it? What boundaries do we have that are grounded in our Unitarian Universalist values? That takes us to the next level of truly being free. And that's what Sean Parker Dennison was talking about. When we are grounded, when we built that foundation. Steinberg began to listen to others. His dreams then took off. In addition to the intersection of sports and climate change, he recognized the safety of players that he could help. Concussions, domestic violence, bullying, racism, sexism, all of these became part of his commitment. Boundaries, Storm writes, boundaries are about self-care, neighborhood care, neighbor care, global neighbor care, and planetary care. It's not just about us. It is about all that we're in relationship, all that we care about, and then some. Cultural boundaries then can get unpacked and recognized and celebrated. We begin to recognize also those cultural norms that engage in sexism and racism and ableism and classism and make us numb. But those healthy boundaries, when we engage in them, they're about expanding ourselves into more, into being more, not less. We'll make mistakes, we will. But if we're committed to empathy, compassion, forgiveness, then we can hold ourselves accountable and into radical self-acceptance. And I hope you've seen that this foundation of Unitarian Universalist values is built at the center with love. With love, our core UU value, surrounded by rooms filled with justice and equity and pluralism and transformation and generosity and interdependence. Our core value of interdependence, our theme of the month, and in this interconnected web of existence where you and I are always in, shifting, flowing, flexing relationships, creating spaces for one another. So this is one of the reasons why the board and I have engaged in the commitment to creating a behavioral government. Why it's so important to make that a priority in this day and age where we're constantly being pushed and challenged, where reactions instead of responses become the norm. My colleague Carol Sissel wrote in 2021 that covenant is the silk that joins Unitarian Universalist congregations, communities, and individuals together in a web of interconnection. The practice of promising to walk together in the precious core of our creedless faith. It is how we promise to be together. Creating that covenant is an extremely important tool for building a foundation of trust. So you want to be here on Sundays, and you want to be here for picnics and committee meetings and decision making. It is a guideline for healthy behavior in a world filled with unhealthy examples. Steinberg faced his history of disruptive, unhealthy behavior, and he held himself accountable. So my question for all of you today, I've given you so much to think about. Ask yourself, are my boundaries healthy enough for me to help create change in this world? Are my boundaries healthy enough for me to help create change in this world? And if not, I've got some books for you. And if yes, I've got some books for you. And I ask all of you in this gathered community and out there in YouTube, part of our community, will you join me and our community leaders in creating a congregational covenant of how we can be in healthy relationship with one another so that we, as a community, can be part of the change that needs to happen in this world. May it be so. Amen and Ashe. I invite you, as you are able, to raise your body for 10:12, When I Am Frightened. I invite you to remain standing as you're able as we extinguish our chalice. The words are found in your heart, the order of service, and the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth into this world, my beloved, hoping you know yourself just a little bit better. Keep asking, how do I feel? What do I need? What do I want? And then say it out loud. Go forth with healthy boundaries, ready to help create a better world. Return again with love as the foundation of all you do. Blessed be.
it seemed so short. I thought, it just seemed like we went through that